Okay, hello everyone, MeSpeed here with another video. So today I'm going to be doing a tier list on the gunner weapons in the game. Now, tier lists, obviously, haven't done them in a while. A few people were requesting this, so I thought I'd go back to it. I did do a few, probably about over a year ago now, and you know, they're easy to do. They're kind of fun to make as well. And yeah, I just thought, you know, enough people want to see this, so might as well do it. And the weapons were kind of like one of the, I guess, main topics that I didn't even cover last time, so it makes sense to do them. But first, I just want to say, like, obviously, this is just the gunner weapons, like I said. I feel like, you know, at least from checking like the last tier lists I did kind of, I mean, I'm doing it now, like, you know, ramble a bit, and they went on for like quite a while. So I feel like if I do all the weapons in one video, it's going to be too long. So I think if I just split them up like this, it makes more sense, and it's going to be, I guess, easier to follow and stuff like that. So yeah, that's why I'm going to do it this way. Um, and yeah, obviously, it goes without saying, you know, this is going to be mostly my opinion. There's going to be some fact and stuff thrown in there as well, but like, you know, there's going to be stuff here that you might think, okay, why is he so high on that, or why does he hate that, seemingly? You know, everyone's got different experiences in the game, different favorites and stuff. So yeah, but hopefully this is still, I guess, close to what most people would say. But you know, it doesn't really matter anyway. It's just what I think. Also, yeah, you're going to see here the icons look a bit different. Like they're kind of they're not like I guess how they should be. For some reason, they're kind of like cropped and like kind of cut off. I don't know why it's like that. I did try and change a few things, but it didn't work. So, but I think you get the general idea. Like these are all icons for different weapon types, and yeah, obviously you guys know there's a lot of reskins in the game, and they kind of reused a lot of the same weapon models for certain things. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to use like one of each that's kind of that looks a bit different at least. So, and I'm going to go through it obviously anyway as I rank these. So yeah, you obviously should know what each of these are. Um, Last thing as well, obviously you can see here I've got three different categories, three tiers. Looking back at the last videos, I didn't really like explain the tiers or anything. It was just like, okay, well, at the top it's the best, at the bottom it's the worst, and that's generally how they work. But like, I didn't really give them any like custom like titles or anything. It was just like S to I don't know, D or something like that. So I've got like less tiers now, but I guess it's probably going to be easier for me to make use of them all now and rank stuff. So yeah, let's get into it. So all right, first one going to be very easy. Short range machine gun. Probably one of the most used gunner weapons. Definitely the most used machine gun in the game. Really powerful, really strong, amazing rate of fire, very reliable damage in you know most ranges. Really complements frenzy fire, you know, and it's just a really strong weapon. You know, it's going to be a very common thing. You're going to see a lot of people using this for good reason. You know, the damage is always consistent, and yeah, like it's always been a solid weapon in the game, and it works well with a lot of weapons. You know, so yeah, definitely going to be a popular choice. So this is going to be the moderate range machine gun. I'm going to put that in the second tier, just okay, because I don't think it's like really terrible or anything, especially for like a default weapon. But I think like if you're comparing it to most of the other machine guns in the game, it's pretty underwhelming. It's you know moderate range isn't really. It's kind of an awkward range. It always has been. And I feel like most people are going to take the other machine guns over this one. Not to say that it's bad. It's just really kind of I guess outclassed, and I don't think it's definitely worthy of being at the top of this list. I mean, some people might say it should be at the very bottom, but I think it's still usable. Um, yeah, and with Frenzy Fire, it's not too bad, especially if you can get like the range right. But I feel like most people do prefer to use the other machine guns, and I agree with that. I prefer, you know, most of the other machine guns to that one. But yeah, it's not the worst one out there. It's not too awful. Okay, so the long range machine gun, that's going to go right up there with the fast one. Yeah, I mean, it's again goes well with frenzy fire. You can obviously increase the accuracy. It's kind of different. Like the two of them at the top there. I mean, and again, like abilities come into this as well for certain things, but like with frenzy fire for the fast machine gun, the whole idea is like you getting a lot of health back, whereas with the long range machine gun, it's more so about like getting the extra accuracy there, which can definitely help out. You can actually do like some surprising damage, and you know the hits that you can get can be pretty insane. Yeah, so really strong weapon, pretty good in moderate range as well. You know, so again, that's another way, another reason you could say, oh, well, why should I take the moderate range machine gun when this one does like still a pretty good job, and it's also got another range that it's you know, meant to be really good in long range. So yeah, like a lot of people will use two machine guns, and like those two at the top are going to be the most popular, you know, short range and long range. Okay, moderate range shotgun. I'm going to put that in not worth using because, I mean, to be honest, guys, I was going back and forth on this, whether I was going to put it in like okay tier or not. Um, and again, I'm probably going to like contradict myself sometimes here, but like, you know, it should really be like my personal experiences. But I feel like still I'll put in a bit of like, I guess, the general idea and consensus, and that's like the moderate range shotgun is not used much at all. A lot of people don't like it, don't really use it well, and I guess can't use it or don't like to. I've had some okay results with it, but I mean, if you guys remember my shotgun video I did, what was it, like a month or two ago? I did rank this as like the worst shotgun in the game. I still think that, obviously, but it's still very good. But like, yeah, again, like with some of these moderate range weapons, I'm going to be saying it a lot. You know, I think it's outclassed. It's definitely the damage isn't terrible, but you think, well, I might as well just use something that's more consistent. You know, some of these weapons are going to be, uh, you know, multi-purpose. Some of these are going to be like very specific situations, and they don't do a whole lot. And then others can obviously be more diverse. Yeah, but generally the rate of fire is pretty awkward, and the damage up close isn't bad. But again, I feel like, you know, the short range shotgun just it's probably, you know, you're better off with that, and I think it's more fun to use. But yeah, again, moderate range, it's nice when you can do well with it, because it's definitely not terrible, but yeah, I think it's worth being in this spot, to be honest, overall. Okay, Tank Buster RPG makes sense, very good. Yeah, I mean, you, you could take a lot of weapons in the game as a gunner, but if you're not taking a Tank Buster, there's quite an issue, because this, you can do so much with it. Obviously, you know, the main thing is to take down tanks, other vehicles as well. The damage is very good. You know, rocket jumping, that's a big thing as well. Getting onto high spots, high places, giving you a bit of an advantage, maybe to help you escape or to get somewhere as well. It's very diverse. You know, shooting people up into the air is very helpful in a like a losing fight. If you're, you know, thinking that you're probably going to lose, if you use the RPG, if someone's in the air, they've got like a quite a disadvantage really. And it gives you time to either regroup or just let you just fire on them, you know, while they're in the air. Yeah, as well as that, obviously using the keg with it, you can do some pretty decent damage. It's a good combination, like keg zookas, and yeah, just like things as well, like people using knives, commandos using knives. If you RPG them into the air, they're pretty hopeless. They can't really do a whole lot. So yeah, very amazing weapon. One of the best gunner weapons, to be honest. And yeah, almost any gunner is going to use this unless they're doing some sort of like weird, I guess, challenge, or they just don't know about it. But yeah, like along with the short range machine gun, this is like the most used gunner weapon in the game, like spanning back over all the years and stuff. Yeah, most people are going to be using this. All right, the short range shotgun. Again, I'm a big shotgun fan, to be honest. So like this, I guess you could say, is more of a personal pick. Because I feel like most people that have used shotguns only really like care for the long range one, or you know, ones of that type. They don't really like anything else. I do like the short range one quite a lot. Can be very good with not frenzy fire. That would be interesting. With Leggett, yeah, very good with Leggett. Obviously, you can close the gap. You can definitely take advantage of the extra speed to, you know, just get that damage that you need getting up close. Um, Yeah, very good. I mean, obviously, some of these shotguns, it's like, well, I kind of already covered a lot of it in my guide, in my video stuff. But yeah, I've used it a lot, had a lot of fun with it. Um, you know, Again, like there are going to be situations where you wish you had a fast machine gun instead, because with the shotgun you have to apply a lot of pressure. You have to be like point blank in an enemy's face. If you move back in a little bit, you start to notice like the drop off in damage. Whereas with the fast machine gun, it's not really going to do it that badly. You can, I guess, take more risks. But yeah, I do still find it very fun, but I think most people maybe would put it in just the okay tier. But yeah, like for me, I've used it a lot, had a lot of fun with it, and yeah, I've had success with it. All right, so the scoped machine gun, yeah, that's going to be not worth using, and I'm going to contradict myself because obviously you can see I've put the moderate range machine gun in okay, and the scope machine gun is basically the same thing. It's like a reskin, but it's also got the scope, obviously. So the reason I'm putting it lower is actually because, and again, you might think, okay, this is a bit odd, but I mean, I guess the main gimmick with it is the scope, obviously, and the scope is pretty terrible. It's not really very helpful. You're kind of just better off not using it. So I kind of feel like, well, yeah, I just that's my reasoning there. I think like, okay, if it's not doing its intended purpose or not doing it very well, yeah, it's not for me. As well as that, like if you use frenzy fire with it, I believe it does zoom you out as well. So like it's even less effective, I think. But yeah, like it's just not a great weapon overall. Again, like if you're using it without the scope, it's going to be on par. It's going to be the same as the moderate range machine gun that I've put in okay. But yeah, I just think because the scope is there, and the whole selling point when they released those weapons was, oh, now it's not just commandos that can scope in. Yeah, it's just not very impressive at all. Like the scope just might as well not be there because it really doesn't help. Okay, the grenade launcher. So obviously this is a gunner tier list. This is a weapon that can be used on all classes. So I'm going to include it here, obviously. But yeah, I mean, on a gunner, this is really not worth using. It's just ridiculous to consider it as a gunner. Obviously, when I do the other tier lists, I will probably rank it differently. But for the other classes, but yeah, for gunner, I just don't see why you would use it. It's really like there's no point in bringing it unless you're just trying to do something stupid or challenge yourself or whatever it is. But yeah, the tank buster just beats it infinitely for me and for most people. Obviously, you got a few shots there, but it's just not worth it. I mean, it's a weapon really that is a downgrade for a gunner. Considering what the gunner already has access to in the tank buster, and yeah, again, like it's just not worth taking as a gunner. I just really don't think it's a good idea. It's still better than something else I'm going to put on here later on, but yeah, like the clear-cut winner for the explosives is definitely the original, the original tank buster. Okay, the assault shotgun, that's going to be in very good. Definitely. Again, like I said, this is like a kind of like a long range shotgun in how it works. That's again the more preferred shotgun types. The slower ones where you get like a big amount of damage and then you can just switch to like a main weapon. But it's a good like way to open a fight. Good like opener to get some good damage in quickly. Just like a good decent hit. And yeah, like it can't crit. You can't land crits with this. But the base damage is very good, very generous. Again, like I said in my video before. But yeah, the ammo count is okay, but the main reason is to use it is you're getting some solid, consistent base damage, pretty good in all ranges to be honest, kind of accurate, and but obviously can't land crits. But that's not, to me, that's not like as big a negative as it may sound. Um, yeah, so I'm not going to put it like lower than that. I think it's definitely, it holds its own, and yeah, you can do quite a lot with it and do some good damage, and pretty good backup weapon. All right, so the pirate pistol, that's going to be an okay for me, and obviously, as we know, like in the old game, there were different phases, the meta changed, and weapons and other things got changes and nerfs and stuff. So, and again, obviously, since BFHs came back, different variations and stuff, things have been like nerfed and buffed since then. But for me, like the overall thing is now the pirate pistol, obviously back in the day was really good, really accurate. Again, this is a weapon like all classes can use, but yeah, it's still nice you can have it on gunner. It's still nice to have that, but I feel like the accuracy has definitely gone down since changes have been put in place. So I'd say now it's definitely not more long range oriented. I think it's better for like up close and moderate. Again, like similar to a shotgun approach where like you can use it to like kind of surprise someone, get some good damage, and then switch to like a machine gun or another main weapon from there. But yeah, it's very unique, obviously, because it's a pistol on a gunner, and you can obviously get headshots with it, for more damage. So yeah, I think even though it can be a shame, sometimes you think the accuracy can let it down sometimes, and obviously having one ammo is a bit annoying if you come into like a reload bug or whatever. But yeah, overall, I do still like the weapon. I do think it can be fun to use. I just think sometimes it's kind of hard to justify using it over like a long range shotgun. But yeah, it's still very fun to me. I wouldn't say it's not worth using or anything. And again, if you are consistent with headshots, the damage is pretty surprising. Okay, so the Dragonfire. So carrying on the theme here of explosives that are a lot worse than the Tank Buster. Yeah, that's the Dragonfire as well. Sadly, this is a weapon again like the Pirate Pistol on release, very powerful. To be honest, when the Dragonfire came out, it was kind of like a very game-breaking, meta-defining thing. A lot of games were just full of gunners just spamming it. And to be honest, it's just because of how they made it. Obviously, it was very good at a lot of things. Splash, AOE, projectiles, projectile speed and everything. Nowadays, honestly, yeah, again, I can't really think of many situations where you'd want to use this over a tank buster. It can be good, like if there's someone who's like staying in the same spot for ages. Obviously, you can use it to annoy them and do some okay damage, just to splash the one area, and you got the two shots, obviously. But yeah, apart from that, not really too great. Obviously, it's like infantry combat only, really. The damage is really laughable against vehicles, especially tanks. Like it's really not a tank weapon. Um, yeah, and it can be hard to use it for other things too. That obviously, you can use the RPG for quite effortlessly. So yeah, as much as I do like the weapon and have liked it over the years, and people obviously won't be happy about that, but oh well, it doesn't really get used now, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, like really not worth using. And yeah, like I again can't think of many situations where I thought, oh, I wish I had this instead of the RPG. Okay, so the laser machine gun, that is going to be not worth using as well for me. I did actually do a video on this a few years back, like when I was doing like weapons I thought were the worst, of each type. So obviously, again, going back to the old game, this was a very, very powerful weapon. But the main gimmick was because of the fire rate, you would use frenzy fire and you'd basically like heal a stupid amount of health really quickly. And you'd basically like out heal someone to kill them. It wasn't so much about the damage, even though like in moderate range it's decent. But like honestly, compared to the moderate range machine gun, like even though this fire rate is still crazy to this day, as of at the moment, like you can't use frenzy fire with it. That's something that's been disabled for a few years now, I believe. So yeah, like there's no point in taking it in my opinion. Like again, moderate range damage is okay. It's quite accurate as well. You can land hits pretty easily, but obviously from range you're gonna get really like low damage numbers. It's not worth it. But yeah, like the main purpose for using it back in the day was okay. I can use this with frenzy fire. I'm getting crazy health back. Um, Obviously now, like with frenzy fire, it's not working. And again, probably should have said this, like certain weapons, obviously alt fires and stuff not working. This did have an alt fire. It was kind of like a very close range, like beam mode, um, like a laser beam thing. And yeah, that was interesting, but like it was kind of weird to aim with it. And that was even faster than the main rate of fire, if you can believe it. Definitely interesting, a weapon that a lot of people, if they played back in the day would have a lot of hatred for. That's where like kind of like the laser weapon, anti-laser weapon stuff came from, because of the machine gun. But yeah, like nowadays, there's no point. Like without being able to use frenzy fire, I just think it's really hard to compete with other machine guns, and you know others are just better, I think, because they can use that ability because it is just that good. So yeah. Alright, so the magnified machine gun, I'm going to put that in OK. And again, like I was just saying about the laser machine gun, this is another weapon where the rate of fire is more than like a fast machine gun, like a Cheezer or whatever. So yeah, you can actually, instead of like unlike the laser machine gun, you can use friendly fire with this one. Um, but again, like I feel like the damage is just not great, so I'm not going to put it higher than that. But yeah, the fact that you can still heal pretty well with this is why I'm putting it a bit higher than the laser. Obviously, you can use Frenzy Fire with it, so that's a big selling point. But I still think you are better off with a Cheezer overall, but it's not unusable. And again, you um, can't really like rule out some of the healing you can do with it. Like if you're on a vehicle map and you see like a plane or something, if you use Frenzy Fire and you start shooting at the plane, you're gonna heal up like incredibly quickly. It's madness. But yeah, damage isn't too amazing. I've seen people run this with like another fast machine gun because they just use that for the healing, and then you know it just burns through the ammo so quickly, and they use another reliable thing. But yeah, I think as well, like more recently, it had like a nerf where it's got some sort of like recoil to it. So again, like pretty hard to use, and like I said, weak overall compared to like a Cheezer or something. But it is kind of fun that even though the laser doesn't work frenzy fire, this does, so you can still get a feel for like crazy healing and stuff. But yeah, it's not super overpowered or anything. Okay, so this is going to be the long range shotgun, if you couldn't tell. Um, Yeah, one of the most, well, probably the most popular shotgun in the game. I did rate this as the best one on a couple of occasions for me, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. Yeah, really powerful, really strong. Again, like the assault shotgun, obviously you can use it as an opening weapon and then switch back to something else. But the difference is obviously with this one you can land crits, and the crits are actually really strong. You can see some pretty high numbers there. I don't always know if it's like lying to me even without like mark target on an enemy, because I think in my shotgun video recently I hit someone for like 90 something and that just doesn't seem logical. But yeah, like in a lot of situations other damage numbers I've seen with crits have been like in the 60s and stuff, and I think that's more legitimate. But yeah, like that's still crazy stuff, um, that you can do that from time to time. And again, like the damage is pretty consistent overall. um, Fire rate is pretty slow, as you can imagine, but yeah, again, it's not like a main primary or anything unless you're using two of them, and obviously then it becomes a new realm of like power. But yeah, still very very powerful, um, really good, and probably the most popular shotgun in the game. Okay, so the repeater machine gun. This as far as I know, this is basically just the same as the long range machine gun, but I am including it in here because obviously you guys know there's a lot of reskins in the game. This is kind of slightly different in a way, to my knowledge. It does like a bit more damage in long range, but it's only like a tiny bit. But I thought, well, let's just include a couple here that have like small differences, but they're not like a complete full-on reskin, I guess. Yeah, so like still very good. Can't really say much more. You are going to get better damage in other ranges with something like a PKM that I've put there. But yeah, I mean, it's still a long range machine gun type, so I just can't really say like bad things about it really. And now for the Lil Boomer or Micro Blaster. Yeah, really powerful, really strong. It's got like RPG mechanics. Basically, I mean, it is basically similar to an RPG, damage wise. The differences are really though it basically has like a charge up to it, like a small charge up before you can fire. So just be aware of that, obviously, for I guess close range, like I guess quick reaction RPG moments and needs, and obviously timing jumps for like rocket jumping and stuff may be a bit difficult, or I guess awkward, compared to an RPG. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's still really strong. And also another thing about it, the projectile flies pretty quick compared to what you'd get off a tank buster. So yeah, I mean, trade-off, I guess you could say, is the slow charge up time that you got, but it's not that bad overall. But I still think like if you want immediate impact, the RPG is probably a better choice. But yeah, I do know how powerful this can be. There's no point, putting it lower than that because it is still very strong. And yeah, you can do quite a lot with it really. As well as that, I believe the knockback and when you get hit by it is pretty increased as well, or it feels like it sometimes. It really does. So carrying on with like moderate range weapons, I guess. I'm going to put this in OK as well. The Landmaker, the anchor drop weapon. Basically, you are going to get the same damage as the moderate range machine gun, but there are actually stronger crits on this to my knowledge. The crit rate is pretty generous as well. You can land a lot of critical hits with it, but it kind of feels like you are sort of relying on that in a way. But yeah, the gimmick with this type of weapon is that when you land crits, it's going to be pretty devastating. Um, so yeah, I've had okay success with it sometimes. This again does have a bit of recoil to it from memory, so can take a bit of getting used to for some people. Not going to put it in very good, but it's definitely decent. It's definitely okay. I wouldn't say don't use it or anything. Yeah, but again, kind of I guess you could say crit reliant. So the Demon Shotgun, I'm actually putting that in okay tier. This is a weapon that is still a fast shotgun, but for the longest time, I was under the impression it's just like a reskin. But now, as far as I know, it is basically pretty similar to the standard fast shotgun. The damage is still very good up close, but it is actually slightly worse in close range than that shotgun, and there are less projectiles as well for each shot. You got the same ammo, but there's like a bit less, like well, not pellets in this because of what it is, but yeah, like projectiles, whatever they're supposed to be. There's a bit less, so just based on those, I am going to put it a bit lower, but you can still do pretty well with it overall. So the cooler machine gun, I'm going to put that at the bottom here. Yeah, kind of an interesting concept when it first came out, but it's really hard to use it. It's basically like if anyone's got IEG, that's like a hard counter. You can't do any damage if someone's got IEG up, and you're gonna heal an enemy gunner really quickly. It's gonna suck, to be honest, when you're trying to use that. And it obviously does force you to run potentially another short range machine gun if you're in that range trying to use it. Someone uses IEG, you want to stay in that range, you got to switch to a weapon that IEG isn't going to counter. So yeah, it can be fun to use sometimes, but I just think because the ability is kind of common and a lot of people are aware that you can just counter it. I do see a few people sometimes, like if they've come back to the game or maybe it's a new player that might be running it, they're still like shooting at an enemy that has IEG up, and I guess they're maybe confused why they're not doing damage. But yeah, I think it is mostly common knowledge now that like IEG just completely counters it, and I don't like that. I don't like that feeling at all. To make it kind of worthless, and also it is different in how you aim it because of obviously again like what the projectiles are as such, and also the thing is like again because of how it works it's more of like a point blank weapon. You can't actually fire. There's like no range to this basically. So it hasn't really got a whole lot going for it. It can be kind of fun to use when there's no IEG in the game, obviously, and if the map is obviously more ideal for close range combat. And yeah, like if there's a commando using a knife against you and you've got this is probably one of the best counters to that because not only are you going to do a lot of damage and quickly in that sort of knifing range, but you're going to slow them down as well. There's like a slowdown effect on this, like the other kind of snow weapons and ice weapons and stuff. So yeah, it can be fun to use, but I really don't use it a lot at all, and like I say, enough people know how to deal with it, and it's a bit annoying really. It's quite a huge disadvantage really if you're trying to use it and you just see someone using IEG. Okay, so the robot battle arm weapon, I'm just going to put that in OK. Reason for that is the damage is actually worse in ranges other than long range. It's the same as like the longest machine gun in long range, but yeah, other ranges it's not going to be as impressive. Slightly slower reload as well. Obviously, the gimmick back in the day was to have like a close range alternate fire. It was like a minigun, like a chain gun. That was very fast. But obviously, back in the day when it did work, the alt fire was working. It wasn't even very strong. It's pretty fast, but it didn't do amazing damage with the alt fire. They were trying to like combine, I guess, two weapons in one, and obviously that did, use the same ammo pool as well, obviously. So yeah, but it's not unusable. But obviously, as of right now, the fast rate of fire isn't going to be usable, and if you're using it obviously for the long range aspect, it's just going to be slightly worse for the most part in certain situations. So again, another thing where it's like slight differences, and you might think it's a bit nitpicky, but yeah, I just thought I'd include it anyway. So the alien shotgun, that's got to be in very good for me. Again, a lot of these kind of shotgun types showing up, as you can see along here. Yeah, really insane damage up close. As I said in my video again, did obviously say a few good things about this. The ammo's pretty bad though. The ammo count's pretty low, lowest of any shotgun. But yeah, like long range, moderate range, it's not going to be that great as well. But obviously, what it's got going for it is the close range damage is pretty insane, and you also have like a knockback effect. So if you hit someone, you sort of disrupt their movement. That can also mess people around with, aiming and stuff. Can sort of surprise people, and you can use it as like a small like makeshift RPG to get yourself over certain like over certain walls and stuff, and maybe to get to certain high places. Yeah, it's not like an insanely strong like RPG element, but like it is nice that you have that as an option. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting, and I still think the damage, especially, it's definitely very good. Alright, so the snow weapon, the snow RPG, I should say, like, yeah, this was the last weapon that came to the original game. And at that point, it was kind of a surprise that they were still adding weapons. At that point, I think a lot of us thought, okay, they're not going to do this ever again. But yeah, kind of interesting weapon. Obviously, again, very gimmicky. It's got a lot of ammo. It's got, for an explosive, a lot of ammo really, and it does slow enemies down like the cooler does. But yeah, it's pretty weak. It's pretty ineffective for the most part. You can't rocket jump with it. It's not going to shoot people up into the air. The whole thing is like you can do like a barrage of damage with it because the ammo is quite generous, and slowing people down isn't bad. But again, like I said with the Dragon Fire and the grenade launcher, I can't think of many situations where you'd want to take this over the standard tank buster. It's just that good on its own, like this weapon just I think isn't worth taking. Can be interesting, can be fun. It's a cool gimmick, I guess. No pun intended. That was lame, but yeah. I just don't see it a whole lot. I haven't used it too much recently, really at all. Yeah, so don't have a lot of good things to say about it, but it's not. Not to say it's not interesting, but yeah, it's not for me really at all. Okay, so this is the burst machine gun. This is obviously a custom weapon that was released, I think, probably a few years ago now, actually. And I remember when it first came out, like Frenzy Fire couldn't work with it. Again, it's like the laser situation where I put it a lot lower, but now it does work with Frenzy Fire, so it's obviously a lot better because of that. The damage isn't bad. Obviously, you've got to get used to the fact that it is a burst weapon. There aren't any other machine guns that play like this. Or many weapons at all in the game, but yeah, it's kind of interesting. Damage can be okay, fairly accurate, but again, I do prefer using just like a standard cheeser or a fast machine gun. But yeah, like I say, it's definitely not unusable, but for me, it's only going to be in the kind of average category, and it is nice that they did make it eventually that Frenzy Fire worked with it. And finally, something obviously that is worse than the grenade launcher somehow for a gunner. Yeah, TNT. I actually almost forgot to include TNT because, I mean, it's not really something that you see at all, especially not on a gunner. Yeah, can't really say too much other than the range is terrible. It's slow, and the tank buster just does everything so much better. I mean, I don't know why you would take TNT. Same argument with the grenade launcher, but I still think the grenade launcher is better in some ways, obviously. But yeah, none of those you should take, in my opinion, as a gunner. So yeah, so that's about it, guys. Hopefully this was all right. I probably went on for too long. I'm so glad I actually said that I'm going to split these up because it would have been insane. Yeah, maybe you agree with these, maybe you don't. These are just my thoughts in the moment on these. If you think I missed something off about one of the weapons or anything else, let me know. But yeah, hopefully this was okay, and hopefully most of you guys agree with my points on some of these. And yeah, that's what I think in this moment. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.